Welcome to Bridging Borders, the podcast where we try to bridge the gap between cultures through insightful conversations.
Together, we explore diverse topics from productivity to language learning, all the while helping you improve your English skills.
Hey Veronika, how are you?
Hey Sam, I'm doing great. I'm super excited for today's episode because today we're going to talk about hobbies and how to find a new hobby as an adult.
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared about this episode because I think you have a cool hobby and I don't have any unique or interesting hobbies. And hobbies are actually something that sets people apart from other people, and it can make you seem or are a lot more interesting, as a person. So when you find out someone has a unique or cool hobby, it's quite memorable and you can remember them. And I remember I met one of my friends once and he told me that he started curling. And I don't know if you know what curling is, but it's one of those
It's like a
winter
sport?
Olympic sports where they
Uh-huh.
push that circular thing down the ice and someone has like a broom and they're like brooming it. And I thought, that's so weird. How did you start that hobby? I've never known anyone to do that before. And that happened 10 years ago and it's stuck in my mind ever since. And whenever I hear someone talking about that, which is not often, to be honest, I remember my friend Howard. So, yep.
Does he still do curling?
I have no idea. The next time I'll ask him. Next time I see him, I will ask him, but I don't know.
10 years later, he became a professional.
Yeah, maybe I'll see him in the Winter Olympics.
Oh, maybe. But yeah, you said that I have a cool hobby, so I guess you were referring to surfing because a few years ago I started surfing here in Mexico. It's been a dream of mine for sure. Growing up, I always wanted to try surfing. I remember when I was a kid, I watched so many documentaries and just movies about surfing, and I was just in awe. I wanted to try surfing so bad. And obviously, when I moved to Mexico, I was so happy that I can finally do it here. So I went to a surf camp 2 years ago, one and a half, I would say, yeah, 1.5 year ago. And it was hard, to be honest. It was my first time surfing. And I would say the most challenging thing about surfing is the mental aspect of it because sometimes it gets scary. You have to swim good or at least feel comfortable in the water because the waves are gonna kind of cover your head. You have to be comfortable drinking some of the water, the sea water, the ocean water. And sometimes it just psychologically, you just feel like you can't do it anymore. Like it's so hard. It's physically challenging. It's mentally challenging. Obviously, you get a lot of bruises on your legs everywhere. Yeah, and like if you're not careful enough, unfortunately, that was my first ever experience. The surfboard hit my nose really bad, and because I didn't cover up my face, and that's something that they teach you. The instructors always tell you when you're in the water, make sure you always cover your face because it can happen, and it did happen to me. So it was pretty painful. I thought I broke my nose, but I didn't. But yeah, it was very painful. And then the second time I went surfing, it was a year ago. And I already felt a lot more like comfortable. I felt a lot more confident on the board, but it was still hard. It's definitely not easy. You feel exhausted. I remember I woke up every single day at like 6 a.m. to go to my surf class. And then by 1 or 2 p.m., I was completely dead. I was so tired. And I had to take a nap every single day. But it's fun. I like it because it's challenging. I'm on the water. So it's a lot of fun. Would you ever try surfing, Sam?
I think I have tried surfing when I was a lot younger because when I was at secondary school, we went on a school trip to like an adventure camp place
Mhm.
and it was in the UK. So I can't imagine surfing in the UK is as good as surfing in Australia or Mexico or somewhere like that because it's freezing. You have to wear a wetsuit. But I can't really remember too much of it, to be honest. But I think it was fun. I don't know if I ever like actually stood up on the board, which you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure not many people actually have a successful first attempt at surfing, do they? But
No.
I don't know. I think I would like. I wouldn't say no if someone asked me if I was on holiday and they said, there's some surfing. Would you like to do it? I wouldn't say no. It looks pretty fun actually, and it looks pretty cool as well. It's one of those hobbies where if you say you surf, you're like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. It's like
Hmm.
skateboarding. When I was younger, I really wanted to skateboard, but I never did because all my friends rode BMXs instead, and that's what I did. But I always wanted to skateboard
Okay.
because it looked cool.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I guess people do romanticize surfing a lot. I think I my understanding of it is because it is hard. Like not everyone can do it as you said. It is hard to stand up on the board. You have to like to be able to even surf, you have to have a different skill already. You have to know how to swim. So
Mm,
by default, like that's the first thing. If you don't know how to swim, if you're afraid of the ocean, if you're afraid of the water, if you're a lot of people, for example, they can swim when they can touch the bottom. For example, in the swimming pool, they feel comfortable, but out there in the ocean, obviously it's too deep. Like you can't surf when it's not deep enough. So all of those things are, you have to go through all of these kind of hurdles or like mental hurdles or physical challenges. You have to learn how to swim, and only then can you try surfing. But that's also something that I had to learn because as a kid, I never actually learned how to swim, unfortunately. So I learned how to swim when I was 2021. 2021, 22, I was like practicing more and more. I took swimming classes and I became very comfortable in the water. Before that, I was afraid of the ocean. I couldn't swim well. So, yeah, it was definitely a learning curve for me.
yeah, that sounds quite strange for me because in the UK, most people know how to swim because when we're at school, you spend maybe 2 years of going swimming once a week minimum. So even if you didn't have swimming lessons when you're a kid or you didn't go on holiday or whatever, and there was a swimming pool, most people still learn to swim in school. But my dad
Okay.
is not a very strong swimmer because he had a bad experience when he was younger. So he went to lessons when he
Mm,
was well, he was probably like 40 something actually, but he still doesn't. He still gets scared. Not swimming in swimming pools, but swimming in the sea. Like when we're on holiday, he doesn't go too deep into the sea because he still has that fear. And I think it's very psychological actually. What probably the older
absolutely.
when you're a kid, you just don't really care and you're not worried
Yep.
about anything, so you don't really think of the bad things that could go wrong. But when you're an adult, especially the sea is actually really scary. If you're on a
It
boat
is.
in the middle of the ocean or the sea, and you're just looking around, and you're like, if I fall in now, there's no one here to save me. So yeah, I can understand. I can understand that. But so, can you surf regularly, or is it something that you do sporadically?
I would say more sporadically, just because I like to travel, and every time I think about where I want to go, do I want to go to the beach or do I want to explore a different place? Yeah, I choose always somewhere else just because I want to visit so many different places. And obviously, for surfing, for any skill, I would say the more you practice it, obviously, the better you get, the faster you improve. But I feel like for me, my um, kind of like the frequency with which I surf is perfect for me. It's like once a year. Once a year for a week or two is great. It's great for me to try to improve a little bit more because I remember my last trip, I started to learn how to turn the board. So that was great. It was a completely different experience because I could already feel the board a lot more. So obviously, first you learn how to stand up. You stand up, you feel scared, like your legs are shaking. You're like, what should I do? Like, where do I go? And then you learn how to turn the board a little bit, like a little bit to this side, to that side, because sometimes it depends on the waves. Sometimes you don't actually have to go straight. And it's better if you don't because you have to serve the wave. And most often than not, the wave is not 100% straight. It's either going right or left. So you have to kind of press the board. But it reminds me so much of snowboarding. And I snowboard a lot too. So that's why I like this movement, the feet. Yeah, it's very similar, I would say.
And do you have any hobbies that you do just for the sake of it, where there is not maybe like an objective or a goal of trying to get better? So, for example, I play chess online occasionally, and in the past I've played it a lot more than I do now. But with chess, and you're playing online competitively, there's like a rank attached to your name, and the aim is to win the game. And kind of everyone's big objective is to kind of get better at chess. But I watched a video recently, and it was about self improvement and the point of self improvement. And they mentioned in that people sometimes people are constantly doing things just to kind of optimize or to get better, and we have lost the art of just doing things for the sake of just doing them. So even even going on a walk now, if it's like a 20-minute walk, I'll start my Apple Watch and I'll be tracking the walk, or people track their steps. So
Mm-hmm.
everything that we're doing is like being monitored, or we're thinking about how to get better. And some hobbies, like the gym, for example, are quite clearly progression based. So, do you have any hobbies that you do just for the sake of it, or just to do for fun?
Yeah, right now, every single hobby I do is just for the sake of it. It's just for fun. But in the past, yes, I was this person, like the person you just described. Every single hobby I approach from this competitive mindset. Maybe it comes from my childhood because I did gymnastics competitively for a very long time, and then I did track competitively again. So for me, every new sport, especially sport, I was like, I have to get better. I have to give it a like. If next time I'm not better, it's not worth it. I think for me, it took a lot of therapy, obviously, because at one point I realized that I was not happy. Like I went to surf and I just felt exhausted instead of feeling like refreshed and like, oh my God, I tried something new. I fulfilled my dream, my lifelong dream. I felt like I wasn't enough, or I felt like my surfing skills were not that great. And then it was like, oh my God, I just feel exhausted. Like I don't feel happy at all. And that's obviously something that I talked about with my therapist. And like this realization that I was doing something wrong, and that in reality, for me right now, for example, surfing, snowboarding, recently I started doing ceramics like pottery, making my own cups and plates and stuff like that. Right now, I just go there and my class is like 2 hours long, and I just spend it doing whatever it is I want. If I make the ugliest cup ever, I don't care, because for me, it's not ugly. For me, it's the most beautiful cup ever. And I'm so happy. And I made it. And it's just for fun, solely for fun. Yeah, every single thing, every new hobby I try right now, I always approach it with this fun mindset. Like, I just want to have fun. I just want to have a good time. That's it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my hobbies. So my main hobbies, if you can call them hobbies, are going to the gym. I also run. I like
Absolutely,
reading.
yeah. These are
I
hobbies.
play football. And that's really about it of things I do regularly, like
Hmm.
on a weekly basis. There are more things that I do outside of that, which I don't do that often, which I wouldn't really call my hobbies. But all of those aspects, especially running, I'm always trying to get better. Gym, I'm always
Hmm.
trying to get better. Football is more social and it's not competitive. So it's just a group of friends who meet every week and we play like a 6 or 7 aside game. But it's still competitive, and I'm very competitive with myself. So if I don't play particularly well that night, I overthink it and I think, oh no, like I need to do better. And like next week I'll not try extra hard, but I'll think about what mistakes I made last week and I'll try to improve it, because I naturally, I think, want to be good at things, and I don't like it when I'm bad at things, which I think stops me from maybe having some hobbies which I do just for the sake of it, like you do,
Hmm.
and have fun. Maybe something creative would be good for me, because I have always said that I'm not a creative person, and if I just accept that it's not going to be good because I'm not creative, then I won't put pressure on myself to be good. But because I've always done sports, and I think it's similar to you that sports are inherently competitive, aren't they? So there is this like uh, ingrained desire to be better, just to for yourself and also to be better than other people. But yeah, maybe I need to pick up a creative hobby which would be different.
I think it depends a lot on what you think a hobby is, right?
Mm,
Because for me right now, yes, in the past, for me, a hobby would be something where I can prove to everyone or prove to myself that I can always improve my skills. I can always get better. So, like, this self improvement aspect of it was huge for me. Right now, I try to pursue hobbies for the intrinsic joy of the activity or its benefits. For example, right now, recently I started doing Pilates, and the benefits for my body of Pilates are enormous. Like, after every single class, I just feel like a new person. I feel refreshed. I feel like all my muscles are in the right place, all my bones are in the right place. Everything is perfect. So I just, right now, I always remind myself that I'm doing it because I love it, the intrinsic joy of it, it's fun, and because it benefits my health or my physical health or my mental health. That's it. So these are the two things I keep in mind.
yeah, I think a lot of people have. I don't know if people did more hobbies previously, but now the TV has become so accessible and good television shows. I think watching, TV on streaming services has just become people's automatic hobby, and it's a good way
Absolutely.
to bridge the gap between people that you don't know. And if like you have both seen the same television show, it's like a very easy talking topic. It's almost like it's become like the weather now, hasn't it? Like, oh, did you
Have you
watch
seen
the
this? Yeah.
yeah, have you seen this? Did you watch the new episode? It's like an easy way to have a conversation with someone without actually
Hmm.
having a real conversation. But did
Hmm.
you think watching TV or watching films is a hobby?
Oh, this is very interesting. I would say it could be, as long as you're approaching it with a different mindset. Because for example, I'm going to give you a very good example. My cousin and her husband, they love to watch movies. But when they watch movies, they always talk about them. They discuss them. They watch, the best movies that no one heard of, right? It's something that is extremely interesting. They talk about those movies. They maybe analyze them, and it's like they're a part of their life, a very,
Mm,
very big part of their life. It's not like, because basically what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of people, the way they approach watching movies and shows is after a long day of work, you hop on the couch and you just watch a show and you fall asleep. You're not actually actively engaged, or maybe you are, but it's just like it passes through you. 3 weeks later, you don't remember anything you just watched. You don't remember like who the director is, who the leading actor is, like all of those things. But my cousin and her husband, like they know all the names, they know everything. They're like, okay, I know like this director, like his style of filming is this one. So it's like it's more than that, right? So I feel like if you approach it this way, maybe I would say it's a hobby. But if you're just watching a Netflix show, I mean, it's fun. Obviously, it's fun. But I wouldn't say that my hobby is watching shows. I just like watching shows sometimes, but it's not my hobby.
yeah, I think I take a more of a critical approach, like maybe the people that you just mentioned, because I like watching video essays about the films
Mm,
and TV series afterwards.
okay.
So like I like kind of thinking about the films and TV series after I've watched them,
Hmm.
and I don't like rushing through them. Like my girlfriend loves binge watching, and we're watching Avatar: The Legend because they've made a live action TV show of it. It's a
Oh,
little bit
wow. I didn't know
disappointing.
about that.
Yeah, they tried it with a film a few years ago and it flopped and it was a big failure and everyone hated it. I haven't actually watched it because it is supposed to be so bad and I don't want it to ruin my estimations of the cartoon. But we've both seen the cartoon, we both enjoy it, and we're really excited about the live action TV series. And um, she every night we watch one episode and she's like, "Oh, should we watch another one?" I'm like, "No, let's not rush through it because that's what I like to do with TV series. I don't like to rush it. It's not there just to kind of take my mind off things. I'm kind of it's more actively engaging in the
Hmm.
program or the film, and I do
Yeah,
that.
take it slow.
I think it's easier to do that with films more because it's with a TV series. It's something that you may do continuously, like every night you
Hmm.
might watch 2 or 3 episodes,
Yep.
and you may not pay complete attention to it, and you might go on your phone in between. But with a film, especially if you're going to the cinema, it's more of an active um, engagement.
Hmm.
But I suppose the beauty of the internet is that you can have a community of these things now. So,
Yes.
if you could find a Reddit page about the
Hmm.
film or TV series, and you can discuss it and you can get involved, which previously you probably couldn't do. So it's probably more of a hobby than it is now, than it ever has been.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, and that reminded me of another example from my life. I really like Formula One, and I do watch this Netflix show, Drive to Survive. It's about Formula One. I do watch it because it's a part of my Formula One experience, right? So I do follow those like Reddit pages and Instagram accounts that talk about F1. Obviously, I watch the races. So I think the way you guys can also approach watching movies and TV shows is as a complementary part of your overall experience. For example, as I was talking about surfing, right? Because I like surfing, I watched a lot of movies and TV shows and documentaries about surfing. So the same thing about F1 right now. I'm watching a lot of movies about car racing, this Netflix TV show. So it's the same thing. And obviously, I'm learning a lot of new things. It's a lot of fun. It's a part of my life. It's a part of my big hobby. So you can also think about that.
When you say you've watched a surfing film, are you talking about Surfs Up?
I'm not sure about this one, but
I think it's a cartoon with like penguins surfing.
okay, no.
It's not it's not serious.
I watched, yeah, the first one that comes to my mind is Soul Surfer.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a very good movie. So Soul Surfer. I also watched Step into Liquid. It's a very
Mm.
interesting movie. And the other one I watched is Catching Mavericks.
Wow, you've
So
watched a few.
yeah, I watched quite a few of these. Yeah, there are actually a lot of movies about surfing. If you Google them, you're like, oh my god, there's so many. Yeah,
Have you seen
but
Jaws?
I think I did. Yeah, I did. I did
The
watch this
shark
movie.
attack?
Yep. Hmm.
Does that put you off surfing?
Sometimes I do think about it,
Hmm.
but I always ask my instructor, like, "Are there sharks here?" And he's like, "No, no." They always say this. They always say, "No,
Yeah,
no, don't worry about
they're,
it." And
they're
I'm like,
friendly. They don't eat
"Yeah,
people.
they're friendly." Yeah, and I'm like, "Okay, I believe you." Well, I try not to think about it too much because obviously, like, if you're thinking about it like too much and then you want to surf, like, you're not gonna have a good surfing experience.
Mm.
Like, if if you would rather not surf and be on the shore and you're fine, you're just fine being on the beach, relaxing, blah blah. But if you do want to surf and this is the only thing stopping you, but like it's your dream, you would love to try surfing, I think you have to work on this fear, like psychologically. Because maybe you're not going to be fully happy. I don't know, maybe like this is the thing that's going to bring you so much joy and happiness. For me, it's not like I'm obsessed with surfing. I like to surf from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, because in football, there's a kind of understanding that if you are scared of getting injured, especially when you go into a tackle and you don't put like 100% in, and like you're
Hmm.
pulling your foot back a little bit, then you're more likely to get injured.
Oh
And I'm sure
wow.
that the same is with other things, like for example skiing. If you're constantly thinking I'm going to get injured, I'm going to break my leg, I'm going to break my leg, you're probably going to break your leg. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same with shark attacks. Like if you're thinking I'm going to be eaten by a shark, you'll get eaten by a shark. Probably not, but yeah.
Yeah, but absolutely. Yeah. For example, when I snowboard, it's the exact same thing. Like, because both of your feet are clipped in. So basically, a big fear that people have is, oh, I'm going to fall. And like, I don't really like, how do I get out of this? Like, both of my feet are clipped onto the same board, and I'm just going to, fall face down, and that's it. And yeah, like it's better not to think about it and just focus on improving your skill, your like snowboarding skill, your technique, the way you snowboard. Maybe you take a few classes with an instructor. Yeah, so, but I actually wanted to ask you, Sam, if you have any hobby ideas when it comes to like artistic hobbies to for people to tap into their artsy side.
I think I'm probably the wrong person to ask because, like I said before, I'm not that creative. But there are so many things that you can do, especially locally, where you can go and do something physical. Because I don't know about you, Veronica, but I spend a lot of time in front of a screen. If that's my laptop working, if that's a TV, kind of relaxing in the evening, or on my phone. So I like to do things in my free time that aren't behind a screen. So there are
Okay.
plenty of things like you mentioned, pottery is a great one, or you
Mm-hmm.
can make some tiles, or you can do an art class or a painting class, or you can
Yes.
get some inspiration from a museum. I think a
Mm-hmm.
musical instrument is a very old hobby and something that I've never learnt. I did buy a ukulele when I was in school, but I didn't learn how to play it. Like so many people did in my school for some reason. I don't know why, but there was a ukulele hype for about 6 weeks.
I have a ukulele too. I bought
Really?
it, yeah, I bought it like a few months ago because I wanted to learn to play it. Yeah, I still haven't. So I'm getting there.
But yeah, I think a lot of people like music, and now due to the internet, you can learn how to play music by yourself without having to spend money on a tutor. Or
Hmm.
if you like certain electronic music, there are tutorials how to do that. I'm sure there are software available of how to make that as well for free and pretty easy. So I think a musical instrument or something with your hands would be really good.
Absolutely, yeah. Another very interesting one that comes to my mind is calligraphy, because that's actually something that I did in college. I took a few calligraphy classes because I was learning Chinese. And basically, you don't have to learn Chinese or Japanese to learn calligraphy. It can be done with any language. It's a lot of fun. Like if you want to learn how to write in a very beautiful way, calligraphy is a great hobby. There are a lot of lessons online on YouTube. It can be it can be free. You can just learn how to do calligraphy with your pen, right? Maybe you want to improve your handwriting, for example. So it's fun. And then, for example, I remember when I was taking those calligraphy classes, every time my relative had, I don't know, their birthday, I would like handwrite something beautiful on their birthday card. And everyone was like, oh my God, Veronica, your handwriting is so beautiful. I'm like, yep, I took a few calligraphy classes.
Yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
need to do that because my handwriting is awful, embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, it can really help you like elevate your penmanship, make your
Mm,
writing more beautiful.
penmanship. Yeah, I haven't heard that word in a while.
Yeah, that's a fancy word, penmanship. Yeah, people
Yeah.
use it a lot in calligraphy. They're always like, "Yeah, we're gonna help you elevate your penmanship, make your writing extremely beautiful." And something that I also really wanted to learn more about is different
Mm,
fonts and styles, and stay consistent in this one font, right? Because for me in the past, I would always think, "Oh my God, some people like they choose one font and they replicate it like over and over again, so they're staying extremely consistent." And can I do it? Yes, I could. Maybe not anymore because I haven't practiced calligraphy in 3 years now, but back then it was very fun. Yeah, I really liked it for sure.
have you ever tried to do a hobby that you used to do while you're younger? Like you had a gap from it, or like a few years uh, when you hadn't done it previously, and then you have gone back to it?
Hmm. I would say maybe it's connected more to the outdoors because growing up, my family, my mom and my dad, they love the outdoors. They're very outdoorsy. They are like adventure seekers. They like hiking, kayaking, camping, stuff like that. So when I was a kid, I used to hike with them a lot, kayak with them a lot because my parents have a kayak. It was fun. Like it was a lot of fun. But obviously, like when I went to college, even when I was in high school, I was like, it is not cool anymore and stuff like that. I know I didn't want to do it anymore. And so I think right now I'm definitely coming back to it, especially hiking, maybe not kayaking because it is challenging. You have to have a boat, you have to know how to row your boat. You have to be close to a lake. So a lot of things have to happen for you to kayak, but it is a lot of fun anyway. So hiking for sure. Yeah, here like next to Mexico City, we have a lot of amazing trails, and I love hiking. It's definitely it offers a breath of fresh air, and when you live in a big city, it's something that you love to experience, I would say. What about you?
I've tried two different hobbies. So when I was younger, I used to play loads of video games, and it sounds quite sad, but it was actually very social. And all kind of the boys in my school, or most of
Mm-hmm.
them, and a lot of my friends played video games as well. So as soon as we'd finish school at 3 o'clock, we would race home and we'd all go on our Xboxes, and we would all join like a party call, and we would
Mm-hmm.
play games with each other and chat until it's time for bed essentially. And
Wow.
I spent years of my life doing this on different games like Halo 3, Call of Duty, FIFA, Gears of War, so many different games. And I used to love gaming just for the sake of it. And just
What was
obviously
your
there
favorite
are kind
game?
of um, hmm. Probably the ones I mentioned. So always I like first person shooters, which is
Okay.
quite strange because I've never had an interest in apart from war or military, apart from if I'm kind of learning about it in history. But
Mm-hmm.
it is weird to think that like a lot of popular games are based on conflict, and you're like, that's weird. But yeah, I really enjoyed them types of games. I love football as well, so I've always enjoyed FIFA. But yeah, mostly
Okay.
first person shooters. I enjoy stupid games as well, like Mario Kart. And there was this game called Viva Pinata, which I really liked. I don't know what if you know what it is, but basically you are a gardener and you have to um, do different things in your garden to attract different animals, which are pinatas. And there are different like
Oh,
tasks
wow.
that you can do, and that kind of the better your garden, the better animals that and pinatas you attract. It's very silly, but it's very fun.
It's
And
so funny.
I also loved Pokemon as well as a kid. But yeah, I played so many video games. But then when I I kind of I've always had a games console, if it's a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox One or something, Xbox 360. But
Mm-hmm.
I took a huge break at kind of university where it's more casual, where I'd maybe just play the occasional game of FIFA, which is a football game, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't take it seriously. And then when I got older, like a real adult, I guess, I would occasionally like, go on my Xbox and think, oh, this game looks interesting. I'll play it single player, and just not enjoying it whatsoever, and kind of forcing myself to continue playing. I'm like, what's the actual point of me doing this? So
Mm-hmm.
that was an unsuccessful attempt at starting to enjoy gaming again. But occasionally there will be a game where I get pretty addicted to. So there was this strategy game called Stronghold where you have to like invade different people's castles, and you have to like, make sure that your castle is like secure from enemy attacks and stuff. It's very nerdy, but
Mm-hmm.
like I re-downloaded it on my laptop again recently, and it's all I wanted to do for like a weekend maybe, and I probably spent a good 8 to 10 hours in a weekend playing that, and then yeah, my love for that kind of faded. But yeah, I think that game I'd still enjoy playing. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of I found myself like feeling strange because I wanted to enjoy gaming, but the feeling just wasn't there anymore.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I think when it comes to video games, as a hobby, I think it could be a great hobby. However, unfortunately, a lot of people approach video games wrong just because there's so many things about video games that can be unhealthy. For example, it can be extremely addicting. That's the first thing. Like you can just spend, like a whole day literally playing instead of, for example, working. Let's say it's Monday, you have to work, and instead of working, you play video games. So when something like this happens, I think it's a problem. I think it's not a good hobby for sure. But if for you, you love, as you said, like you love the community aspect of it, you just love a specific game, I think it's a great hobby as long as you approach it with the right mindset. Right. Because also, for example, many of us, we have sedentary lifestyles. So we sit a lot, we work, in front of our computers, and obviously you also have to account for the fact that if you spend like another 3 hours playing video games and not, for example, moving your body, maybe it's also not a great thing. But if you know that today's Saturday and you're gonna go for a run later and now you want to play a video game, it's absolutely fine. I don't see a problem here at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But I've also started playing football again, which I did when I was really young, all my life. Like, basically, was my main hobby for the majority of my childhood. Then I stopped in secondary school, and I completely stopped at university. But I started playing again when I was in Valencia. I joined like a group, it was like a social group, and that was pretty casual. And now I play with some friends in Manchester, and I've really enjoyed getting back into that. I'm definitely not as like, it's hard to compare myself now to like my, I don't know, like 10-year-old self. I'm probably
Hmm.
better because I could push my 10-year-old self over pretty easily, I think, as a
Hmm.
28-year-old. But like actual skill level, especially relative to other people, has definitely
Hmm.
gone down. So that was a bit disheartening. But you have muscle memory, so if you are picking up a sport or exercise that you've done before previously, it's like skiing or snowboarding. You might not go skiing for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and you might be a little bit rusty to begin with, but your muscles and your mind kind of remembers the motions and the actions, and you get used to it, don't you? I'm sure the
Hmm.
same with surfing as well. It might
Yeah.
take you a day to get used to it again, but once you're warmed up, it's okay.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you, Sam, because a few months ago, I think I was listening to this interview. One psychologist was sharing the best sports for kids to do. And the same thing is for adults. So if you guys want to try a new hobby, a new sport, so, if you have to think about it, what do you think are two sports for kids and for adults that are like really, really great to do, like really healthy for your physical and mental health? What will be your guess?
Hmm. It, do you have the answers?
I do have the answers. I
Oh,
just
okay.
wanna like, yeah,
Hmm.
see what you think these sports are.
I don't know. I think any team sport. I was going to say
Yeah,
tennis, because but tennis is pretty individual. It's also quite a
yeah,
mentally tough sport to
absolute
play,
and
especially if you're
physically
playing it like
tough.
professionally or even amateur. Like if you're playing it competitively, you're alone on the
Hmm.
court, and it can be quite long, so it can be quite grueling. But I actually have no idea. Probably, I don't know if if it was American, then it maybe it's some American sports that people in Europe don't play whatsoever, like baseball or American football or whatever. But I actually have no idea. I,
Yeah,
I have no idea.
baseball is a good sport, but basically what you said about a sport being a team sport,
Hmm.
yes, this like team or community aspect of it is extremely important. The reason why I became extremely interested in this topic is because as a kid I did gymnastics, an extremely individualistic sport.
Hmm.
So when I was thinking about, oh, what would I like to try right now, or for example, for my future kids, like unless my future kid wants to do gymnastics, I'm not gonna, take them to gymnastics because I don't think it's very healthy. But basically, the two sports are rock climbing and swimming. These are
Wow.
the two sports that are extremely healthy for a person's like mind development, like brain development, obviously the community aspect of it, like obviously the swimming in itself, it's an extremely useful skill. Every time you go to the beach, obviously you want to feel comfortable in the water. It's safety first. Like every time you're next to the swimming pool, you don't want to feel afraid of the water. So swimming is understandable, but rock climbing was obvious. Like for me, I think for a lot of you guys and for you, Sam, when I heard, I was like, rock climbing. Why? This is so interesting. Obviously, the first aspect of it is team focus because you are a part of the team. And the second aspect of it is this intellectual stimulation. You have to have some kind of intellectual strategy to win. So obviously, you're physically moving. It's an excellent workout. It's very, very hard. You can do it indoors, you can do it outdoors. Yeah, you have to like solve a lot of mental problems. You have to use your upper body and think about how to use it effectively, right? Because you have to have technique, you have to have strong mental focus because it's hard. Yeah, what else? Obviously, if you know how to rock climb, I feel like this just personal aspect of it, like, oh, I know how to rock climb, like you feel great about yourself, you feel like a badass. So for sure. And obviously, if you rock climb outside in nature, you get to visit amazing places. So beautiful areas, amazing rocks and mountains. So yeah, it's a very interesting sport to try.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever guessed that because I would have just focused on team sports,
Mm-hmm.
or sports where you're kind of more obviously a team sport. Because rock
Okay.
climbing, it's still just, you might be climbing with other people, but it's still you doing the climbing. But with a football
Mm-hmm.
match or a rugby match, for example, you can't really do anything by yourself. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
to rely on the other 10 people in your team to succeed or to go anywhere, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of how good you are. But yeah, that's I've done rock climbing a few times when I was at that actual adventure camp, and it is actually pretty fun. And people go bouldering in the UK. It's actually
Yes,
quite a popular
bouldering. Uh-huh.
sport now. So in sports centres, there's usually a rock climbing wall, and yeah, that's actually a pretty popular sport in the UK. Or exercise? Is it a sport? Exercise? Who knows?
I would say sport, yeah. How would you explain
Hmm.
like bouldering? What is bouldering and rock climbing?
I don't know the difference. I think bouldering is just inside. That's my
Mm-hmm.
understanding, but I could be
Yeah.
very wrong about that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so you basically bouldering. I also think that bouldering is when you climb very close to the ground. So you
Hmm.
climb very close to the ground. You don't use any ropes, any harnesses for protection. Obviously,
Yeah.
there is a mat for protection if you fall, but you're not too high up, right? Because it's like a boulder. Like if you
Yeah.
imagine like a big rock, I mean, a big rock, a boulder is big, but it's not a mountain, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because you see like videos of people climbing like backwards like that sometimes, and I'm thinking, how the hell
Oh
do you
my
have the
god.
strength to do that? Because
That's crazy. Like a Spider
I
Man.
couldn't. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I couldn't do that, but it can get pretty scary. Rock climbing is another one of those sports like swimming where there's a aspect of fear to it because some people are scared of
Mm-hmm.
heights. So you can quite easily climb up, and then once you look down, and you're like, "Uh oh, I've got to get down this thing." That's when I think people really struggle. Like going up is okay is easier perhaps, but then going down is the hard bit because you actually have to look down at the ground and you feel vulnerable perhaps. But what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to say before we finish is that hobbies is a great way to continue socializing with people if you don't want to socialize around alcohol, because in the UK a lot of people kind of outside of work, their main hobby is socializing, if you want to call that a hobby, or maybe a pastime is probably a better way to describe it. So if people have a vibrant friendship group, especially at university, for example, I think a lot of people stop doing their hobbies because the kind of main activity outside of studying, and if you unlucky enough to have to work as well, is partying and socializing and stuff like this, especially in the UK and in other countries as well. And a lot of the time, social activities revolve around alcohol in the UK. I'm sure it does in other countries as well. So, kind of meeting up with your friends is still important. And, going to the pub or going to a bar is not the most fun thing in the world if you're not drinking, understandably. So, doing something like a hobby, like a arts class or a dance group or a sort of exercise or sport like rock climbing is a great way to continue to see your friends and meet new
Mm-hmm.
people that's in a sober environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like what you just said, Sam. Yeah, at the end of the day, alcohol does nothing good for you. And when it comes to a new hobby and new sport, obviously it's very good for your mental health. It's very good for your physical health. You're trying something new. As Sam just said, you're meeting new people, you're socializing. So, yeah, I think it's a great place to end this episode on.
Yep. Yeah, excellent. Do you have anything else to add?
No, no, thank you so
Okay,
much.
great. Yeah, thank you so much, Veronica, and thank you everyone listening.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bridging Borders. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more useful insights.
Stay connected by following us on social media. You can find us at bridging_borders_podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.